Oops. All right, howdy everybody. So David left a message on there that it says, I cannot buy the book Total Tonalization anywhere. There is one website I can find selling it called Tiger Music Store, but they require PayPal and I am not 18. Is there anywhere else to obtain it? Let me do a quick look-see here. Now here's the thing. The Tiger Music Store is mine. That's literally my website. I don't think a lot of people know that. I guess nowadays you can't tell a difference. You can't see a difference between high-end websites and personal websites. Okay, total tonalization. Oh, look at that. Whoa. Let me go to... So I'm looking here. What might have happened is that you might have just looked at the wrong time. Let me double check here. So there is an ebook. That's terrible. So it's available as an ebook on Lulu. Let me now check. So that's just as an ebook. I thought that was listed as a physical book. That's not a good thing. Let me check now Amazon. Okay, so it says unavailable. I'll have to check my... I don't understand why that's missing. It says it's an unpublished draft. Why is that? Okay, so here's what I'm going to have to do. Hello, Gabriel. Nice to see you. Here's what I'm going to have to do. I'm leaving that open so I remember to come back to it. So the reason why you haven't been able to find it is because somehow it went unpublished. It used to be published. It went to unpublished. This is a little disturbing to me to see this. I'll have to double check it and see what's wrong and then publish it again. Sometimes it takes a couple weeks for it to get out there. All right. So I apologize about that. You know, this is a one-man show. So, and when the books go unpublished, for some reason, they don't tell us really. I don't know why I don't end up hearing about this stuff, but yes, sometimes we don't. Um, and at my website, Tiger Music, we don't take credit cards because we don't make enough sales to do that. So let me see. Let me see here. What I need to do is sit down and double check every book. All right, so let's go to now I promised somebody that we would start this Q and A because he asked a question at the very, very end and we didn't have time. So he says, I sometimes struggle with C inside the staff. Sometimes E inside the staff seems impossible. Do you know what I could do? Now, first of all, so we're going to answer that question. First of all, I want to say that there's different things that can cause limitations. So what I'm going to tell you now is what I see most of the time. If it's based on just the fact that you don't have those chops, it's different. Let's say you had those chops and then something happened and then you lost the ability to play that, then that's probably not what I'm going to say, probably isn't going to help. Now, what happens if you only have a range up to C? Well, then what you have to do is use that range. And your exercises should be inside that range. So, for example, now this doesn't help you, but one of the books I'm writing right now is for students that have a range up to C. Now, why would you want to do that? I cover this in my one range book. You have to use the range that you've got and grow your abilities from there. And that doesn't work necessarily if you're constantly pounding the other side of that range. So if you say that C is difficult to get, then the way you're describing it sounds like C is your range, and you struggle with the top of your range, and E seems impossible sometimes, right? That sounds to me like C is your range. Okay, because whatever our top range is, we can expect that to be a little bit inconsistent. So when you say sometimes, so your exact words were sometimes struggle with C. And then sometimes E seems impossible. Okay. So that tells me that C is the edge of your range and that you should be doing everything that you do up to C and no farther. That's the first step. You should be practicing enough on that to gain strength, and you should be practicing enough up to that C to get familiarity. Strength and familiarity, that's how you develop range. Okay? Now, sometimes people don't have that much range. I have this new category. So I used to have levels. Well, first level was Pioneer. These are still my levels, but you'll hear what I'm saying. First level is Pioneer, second level Tyro. Pioneer is to the C, Tyro is to the E, Player is to the G, Apprentice is to the B flat, Pro to the C. Oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. And then I realized some of my students, when they first start, especially if they're really, really young, you know, I teach students of all ages. I think the youngest I've ever taught is, I want to say like 5 years old, around there. And a lot of people won't teach kids that young because they think, well, you can't do it. Well, you actually can do it. It is possible. It's just that the materials that they can play, a lot of times they can't get up past, you know, G in the staff. Some of them even worse, C in the staff. C beneath the staff. There are students that don't have range up to that. So what I have done is I've written materials for each of those students. I actually have materials that they practice that only go up to the low C, that this note is their highest note. That's their highest note. So you could really say my approach to this is a use it or lose it approach. But there's a big twist to that. Hello, Sean. Nice to see you. There's a twist to this, right? Because we don't want to go over what we determine as our range. When we go over that, we are doing things different to get the notes. And we don't want that. So if your range, what it sounds like to me, and this is coming from, let me look at the name. Bruno, I can't pronounce his last name. So Bruno's, from what you're describing to me, your range is up to C. So you need to use that. And when I say use that, you need to have long tones that cover that range. And the long tones should cover the full range. And if you're not going to use my books, which, that's not what this is about. I'm not here to sell my books. I'm here to, by the way, I was writing about this Q and A the other day, right? Because I'm putting descriptive text, and I wrote that the original purpose of this Q and A was to answer questions about my books. But while we're here, we can answer other questions, right? So I'm not trying to sell the books. I'm trying to answer questions about the books. That said, if the book helps, of course you want to, and you feel like you can afford it, then of course you want to get it. But that's not what we're here for. So if you don't use my books, you can do what we call a spider exercise, right? So spider would be, there's 18 notes between your top note and the F sharp. If we divide 18 by half, we've got 9. And so starting on E, you're gonna go play long tones on an expansion. And then rest a little bit and go to the next one. And then, so we just went up a half step, down a half step. Now we're going to go up a whole step, down a whole step. Now down a whole step. So, and you just expand that until you get to here. I should demonstrate that. So we're going to keep going in half steps until you get to here. Now, obviously, I didn't go to F sharp because that would have been 9. I mean, that would have been 10 intervals. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm saying here is if your long tones don't have your full range, then you need to make a long tone for yourself that has your full range. I hope that makes sense. And then it's fine. That's the same thing is true for lip slurs. Same thing is true for scales. Your scales should not. There's two things about scales you want to keep in mind at this point. Your scales should not go over the C. So if we want to play the F scale, we don't go up to the high F. We don't try to go to the high F. We want to do something more like that. Now, I do have tonalization studies for that in my books, but like I said, I'm not trying to push my books. So you want to make sure that your scales are limited in range to that C. Now that you have that part of it, use it or lose it. So you got to spend time going up to that top note. I also want to stress for students that have range that's limited to C, I want to also stress that you want to use the notes beneath the staff. This is a very important part of this method. You have to use the notes beneath the staff because going from here beneath the staff to here is the same thing as going from here to here, from the staff up into the upper part of the staff. Mechanically, it's the same thing. It's just from a different point, different vantage, right? So it's very important to use those notes. Don't cut off the bottom notes. That's very important. The lower your range is, the more important it is for you to use those lowest notes. Okay. Now, so the last part of this is the strength building part of it, because you cannot build strength without resting. And when your range is down to low C, you should not be practicing every day. Not if you want to improve your range more quickly. It should be every other day. Maybe 3 times a week, 4 times a week, or if you want to do exactly every other day, you can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and then the next week you could do Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday and flip it back and forth like that. But as a general rule, if you did not practice yesterday, you can practice today. I think that's a better way to look at it. A lot of people would say that's a terrible way to teach because you want to get people into practicing every day. And I've been hearing a lot lately about this whole practice every day thing. And you guys know, the ones who hang out on my channel know that I don't recommend practicing every day. And you know, these people who teach practicing every day, it sounds so much like a religion. And you guys know I've said that before. It just, I've heard this so much lately in the last couple of weeks. And wow, Anyway, so yes, you do have to rest. Now, when we get to the higher levels, you rest through range limiting. Okay, so you still have a day that you're playing, but you're not using your full range. And you know what? I'm gonna stress something here. I never said that you can't develop your chops without doing all this stuff that I talk about, right? I never said you can't develop. This is supposed to make it go faster. It's not a shortcut. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing shortcut about this. But when you use the range that you've got, and without going over that range, and you make sure that everything that you do goes to the bottom and the top of your range, and you get enough practice in, and then you make sure you get some rest time, and then come back to it and do it all over again. When you do that, it maximizes your physical growth. That's why we do it, because it takes forever. If you don't do that, yes, you will get progress, or maybe not, but eventually it will eventually happen. I think it didn't happen that way for me, but maybe if I had kept practicing every day and doing what everybody else was doing, maybe eventually my chops would have gone up. I think it's dangerous because in that process, I believe I was very close to damaging my chops so that I wouldn't play ever again. So I do think there's an element of danger to doing it the traditional way, where you practice every day and do the same thing all the time. But more than that, this just makes a lot more sense in terms of how long it takes to develop those chops. I think the longest I've ever seen, just to be specific about this, the longest I've ever seen somebody struggle from the range that you've got, talking to Bruno here, the longest I've seen anyone struggle to get to where now that from C being the top of the note, top of the range, to E being top of the range, the longest I've seen is about 6 months, and that was with someone who really struggled with it. You know what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to say this is what people say, and it's really disgusting. That the people who don't make the progress is because they didn't do it the way I said. That's just disgusting. That's not how this stuff works. I hear people talking that way all the time. If you don't make progress, well, then you must not have done it the way they said to do it. And that's not how this works. None of it works this way. Don't ever let a teacher tell you that. Don't ever let a doctor tell you that. Right? We talked about that a couple weeks ago. We talked about how doctors, if you're fat and you've done everything you can you know to lose the weight, and you're still fat, and the doctor says, you're obviously not trying. That's the doctor saying, hey, you know what? Your problem is your problem. I don't have anything to do with it. And it's just not true. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with trumpet lessons. When the trumpet student fails, the trumpet teacher fails. And the problem is that the teacher usually doesn't want to accept that. So they blame the student instead of helping the student. And you know that it's instead, right? Because if the teacher says, well, you're just not doing it right, or you're not doing it hard, you're not trying hard enough, blah, blah, blah. When the teacher says that, what the teacher is basically saying is that we're not going to do anything to find out what's wrong here. Because I've already made up my mind that you just aren't pulling it off. It's all on you. That's not how I operate as a teacher. I operate that, hey, if it's not working, let's take a second to look and see what's going wrong here. All right? So you guys know that I don't badmouth other teachers. I do what I can to not do that. So when I talk like this, I am not talking about individuals. I am not talking about even groups of people. What I'm talking about is pretty much an ideology, right? A musical ideology. I am opposed to that ideology. I am opposed to that way of thinking. That I have no scruples being vocal about. I will say that I'm opposed to something, to an idea or a behavior. I am opposed to that. I can say that without saying that I dislike a person. There are no teachers, because I can tell you, I have had the same problem. I have had many times, here I am, I'm the one that's got it figured out, and then I have a student comes in and they're not making the progress um, that I expect. It happens to me just like it happens to everybody else. All I'm saying is that the way I respond to that is different. When you don't make that progress, I take it personally, and I will figure out what it is that I did wrong. Will work with you. A lot of times it's just the miscommunication between the teacher and the student. And it's my job when there's a miscommunication to say it again in a different way. Anyway, so sorry to spend so much time on that, but I don't know. If you guys have any more questions about that kind of thing, I will revisit it again. Okay, Just Ford. Hello, Just Ford. Welcome to the channel. He says, "Hi Eddie, I purchased your One Range book, and it's given me a better understanding on how to practice the right way." Bravo! Yes, congratulations. Congratulations. That's what we were just talking about, is the One Range approach. The One Range approach is a use it or lose it approach. You use the range you have. You got to push everything you have to that range, and then you combine that with rest. That's when you make your fastest progress. Now, you know what? While we're talking about it, let's talk about the kind of things that can make that go wrong. Because the One Range book is not magical. There are things you could do everything that book says to do and not have progress. So, and that can happen. For example, if you have a terrible mouthpiece placement, right? For example, when you talk about the people who play way down on the mouthpiece, or the mouthpiece is way down on the lip, okay, you might not make the same progress that someone else makes. If you play on a smile embouchure, right, you might not make the same progress. Now, there are some in that system, there are some safety mechanisms that would kind of ease you into, without you knowing it, the right kind of embouchure. But if your embouchure is really messed up, the One Range book is not going to help. Not like it, I'm not saying it's useless. I'm just saying it's not going to help. The whole point of the One Range book is to get there a little bit faster. Well, not just faster, but faster. Remember, when I say get there faster, I'm not talking about getting the high notes. I'm talking about expanding the quality of your overall playing into the upper register, so that we don't lose the quality. When we talk about a cheat or a shortcut, we're talking about something that doesn't maintain that quality. So this is not a shortcut. I'm not saying it's a shortcut. It literally takes years to develop an upper register using that book. But when you get that upper register, you're going to have high quality playing. Now, when you compare that level of playing to how long it would take to get there without this approach, it takes a lot longer. In fact, for some people, it takes so long it's unachievable. Hello, Javier. Nice to see you. Javier says, "Hello, Eddie and friends. I hope you are doing well." Yes, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Anthony is here. Hi, Eddie. How are you? I'm great. And Gabriel is here. Hello, Anthony and Javier. So Javier says, if you can practice several hours a day, would you do the routine, let's say 20 minutes, and the rest of the time music? Yes, that's exactly what I would do. So let's say hypothetically you have 3 hours to practice. I would do the 20-minute routine and then music for the rest of that time. And then Javier clarifies, he says, what I meant was you only do the daily routine once. That is exactly correct. My wife says that I say that too often because it's redundant. Exactly correct. So, yes, that's how it goes. Hello, Gabriel. Eddie, can you please explain if bending is useful and how to practice it? Yes, bending is useful. Let's talk about why it's useful. I actually have a video on this. It's useful. The main reason the orchestra guys do the bending is because it helps you learn where the center of the pitch is. And so why do we want to know the center of the pitch? The center of the pitch is where you get the greatest resonance. And so the bending is sort of like the violinist. They have to flatten the peg first and then pull it in. It's sort of like that, right? We come low and then bring it up into pitch. And when you do that, you especially if you do it on a regular daily basis, when you lower the pitch and let it rise, you find that natural center. And the natural center is where the horn is going to resonate. And when the horn resonates, you have to do less work. Okay? So that's a major reason why we do it. Another reason why we do it is because, you know, all those people that talk about why you shouldn't do lip buzz, right? Without a mouthpiece. And they have their stupid reasons. The one reason that they have that's not stupid is lip buzz makes your lips stiff. And it's true. If you do too much lip buzz, your lips get stiff. So that's why when we do the long tones, which come right after, so you do the lip buzz, mouthpiece buzz, and then the long tones. When you're doing the long tones, we do a lip bend on there. Right? We do a lip bend on there because it helps us to flush some of that stiffness out. It's sort of like stretching. If your legs are stiff and you're about to go exercise, you want to stretch them out so that you don't cause pain, cause injury. It's sort of the same thing. So now the main reason we do it is so we find the center of the sound. Ooh, I just said that wrong. Center of the pitch. I try not to say center of the sound because that's an abstract concept. Center of the pitch is a real practical thing. It's not abstract. All right. So yes, that's now let's talk about how to do it. When we bend it down, when we do the lip bend, well, let's take a step back first. If you've not done a lip bend before, you want to practice that note. That's the traditional way that we learn that, right? You put the fingering down and then you lift the fingering and keep the lips where they were. I've seen other variations of that as well, where we go. So that's one way to get started if you're not used to doing this, okay? Now, the proper way to do the lip bend, once you get to where you can do it, is you pull the note down and let it rise. Now, when you get it down, you want to hold it there for a while, and because you're also, with the lip bends, you're also working on aperture control. That's a third benefit that we're talking about here. The lip bends help you practice aperture control. So you wanna hold it down there for a while. That's how you exercise that aperture control. And when you're doing the aperture control, you want to hold it and try to play it as steady as possible, not let it go wobble up and down, not let it have any bumps, okay? Now, when you let it come back up, you just let it come back up. You don't make it come back up. You allow it to come up. Does that make sense? You let it rise up. Don't try to push it. If you push it, then you're not really truly discovering where that center is. I hope that makes sense. Okay? So that's how you do it properly, is you pull it down, hold it as steady as you can for a while, and then let it float back up. And then that note, we want to hold it after we let it float up. After you float it up, you want to hold it again. This time, the reason we're holding it so that we can bask in that center. I hope that makes sense. We hold it when it's down so that we can practice our aperture control. Then we hold it when it goes back up again so that we can bask in the center of the pitch. And what I mean by bask, we want to soak our brain in the experience so that when we come and play other stuff, we will more naturally go straight to that center. All right? Good. Sean Burton says it's more efficient. Yes, that's part of what the lip bends are for, is to help you play more efficiently. What happens when you're more efficient? You can play, well, one sign that you're playing more efficiently is you don't have to use as much air. So you observe that you are taking fewer breaths. Now, I saw someone, and have to be real careful about this because like I said, I don't talk badly about people. But I remember someone saying that when you could play longer, that was efficiency. So remember again, I'm not talking about the person, I'm talking about the idea. Just because you can play longer without a breath does not mean automatically that you're being more efficient. So, but that said, when you are more efficient, you do have that. So it's a logic puzzle here, right? Just because you can play longer does not mean you're efficient. But when you do play efficient, you can play longer without taking a breath. Hello, Jeffrey Boyle. Nice to see you. Javier says, in the Chops Express, the bending is done at the beginning of the long tones. That's correct. That's where I try to do it always. Cardo is here. Hello, Cardo. Hi, Eddie. I am sorry I'm a bit late. That's all right. I'm just glad you guys are here. So Gabriel says, do you open the lower lip to bend? I have no clue. I don't think we need to know that. I don't think we need to know that. I think different people do it different ways. So I'm not going to say that. And you know what? This is one of those things that I keep talking about, right? Even if I could say without a doubt that I use my lower lip to bend, I wouldn't be able to say for sure that that's what you should do. I wouldn't be able to do that. How could I do that? I think it's really different for everybody. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote my books the way I did. A lot of trumpet books talk about what to do with your teeth, what to do with your tongue, what to do with your lips, and my book is more like an obstacle course. And if you can do all that stuff, somehow your subconscious mind is going to make everything fall into place. Anthony says, when I sight read at home, I'm okay. When I sight read in band, I am thinking I get nervous and at times mess up. The problem with sight reading at home is unless you're sight reading with a track or something, you don't know when you're off. So, and I know it's very difficult to do this. Well, actually, I say it's difficult. It's less difficult now that I have over 100 play-along videos. One of the biggest uses of those play-along videos is to practice your sight reading, right? Let me put a link to those. I'm gonna put a link for the play-along videos. There's over 100 of them, and we cover pretty much every level. And if you get off, you're gonna know you're off because. So there, I just posted a link. If you're off, it's going to be obvious, right? So this is a great way to practice your sight reading. But yes, that's the problem with sight reading at home, is that if you add a couple beats, it doesn't crash and burn. If you add a couple beats at the rehearsal in band, it's going to crash and burn, right? You can't just add beats. Or take away beats. Let's say you have something and you have two tied whole notes, and you cheat two beats out of it, right? That's something that is going to destroy your sight reading at the you won't know a thing at home unless you're playing with a track or something. Javier says, how would you organize transcription in a daily session? Where would you put it? Transcriptions go in the music. Transcription go in the music. I just learned a transcription. Sonny Stitt. I transcribed Sonny Stitt's solo on Tune Up. Wow, that's the longest transcription I've done for jazz. I'm transcribing all the time for money. So it's not like I'm not transcribing. I transcribe all the time. But I forgot how many pages, but it's pages and pages and pages of this solo of Sonny Stitt's improvisation on Tune Up. I love it too. I listened to dozens of recordings of Tune Up before I decided who I wanted to transcribe. And it came down to be either him or Booker Little, I think it was. And I chose Sonny Stitt because he was playing more of the kind of stuff that I wanted to practice. I would rather play like Booker Little, but I want to practice the stuff that Sonny Stitt is doing. I hope that makes sense. Javier says, also in the play along videos you post live, found some beautiful tunes I didn't know. Oh, I see. That's not live. Let me read that again. Also in the play along videos you post, I found some beautiful tunes I didn't know. Well, great. That's wonderful. You know, people are using that stuff. I'm so encouraged. You know, I have stats on my website, and I'm sort of like a stat junkie. I'm sort of like a stat junkie. I get on there, um, and I should have given up stats for Lent. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's like trying to give up coffee. So anyway, I look at the stats for EddieLewis.com, and I see all the people clicking on YouTube on the play along videos, and it's so encouraging to me to know that I put something out there that people are actually getting direct benefit from. I'm so excited about that. I can't express just how much that means to me. So yes, thank you, Javier, for playing those things. It's great for and see, the thing is, we're talking about the levels. It goes all the way to the easiest level. Those videos start off with whole notes, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at this. Yeah, it's like half note, whole note, half note, quarter, half, right? And it's nice and slow and easy. The top note in this one is G, right? So, we were talking earlier. We were talking earlier about what do you do if your range is only up to C? Well, one of the things you can do is use my materials, and those play along videos fall in that category. Now, let me tell you, I'm working on more of those because there's not enough of those easiest ones. I want to have twice as many of those easy ones as I do for all the difficult ones. That's my goal, is to have twice as many. Right now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces in that very first level. That's 11 songs that only go up to C in the staff. I want that to be more like 30 or 40. Because those are the students that need it the most. Because that's the hardest hurdle to get over, right? Going from C to E is the hardest hurdle. Maybe I shouldn't be so specific. It's getting to that first level, right? So let's say whatever level you come in at, going to that next one is always the hardest one. And you need a lot of material to get there, material that's already in your range, so that you're spending time on the horn doing stuff. The problem with the traditional approach is there's just not enough material going up to C and stopping. We need to use it. We need to use the range we've got. And even the band methods, they all go higher than C too early. That's why I don't use, people ask me, why don't I use Getchell Book? Well, because it gets up too high too fast. We want more material. We want the students to learn more while they're spending that time down there. We want them to learn more about rhythms, learn more about phrasing, more about key centers and stuff like that. We want them to learn more while their range is down without pushing them higher than that range. And so these play-along videos are a first step towards doing that. So Jeffrey Boyle says, I like your trumpet sound. What kind is it? So this is my baby. So I can't stand when people say that. I don't know why I just said that. This is a Puje. Now you could almost sort of say that this trumpet was made just for me. It's a prototype. There was a previous prototype before this one where he didn't bend. I think it was this one. I think this bend here is new. But yes, I bought this horn, I think it was in 2018. I can't believe it's been that long since I got the horn. I bought this horn. It's and Puje, let me go on the Puje site and see. I think he calls it a Mod 5 now. Let me look. So it's pujetrumpet.com. Let me put the link for you. So that's the link. The horn I'm playing, I think he's just calling it mod. I think if you look at the photo, I think the photo there on the third image is my trumpet. I think he took a picture of it before he sent it to me. I think yes, I'm absolutely certain of it. I think this that he's doing, that the one, now I'll show you, I'll put the next link. So that photo in that, on that page, I just put the exact page on there. That photo is my trumpet. He built it, he took the photo, and then he sent me the trumpet in the mail. So that's this horn. And this is what it looks like now, because it's not lacquered, right? It's not lacquered. Now, the most unique thing about this trumpet is that this slide here is not on the first valve. Follow the tubing. That slide is on the bill. And here is the first slide. There's no, the ring is not on the first slide. The ring is on the bill. So anytime I use this, it's going to change the pitch of any note. So here's a G. Okay, I can get almost a whole half step out of that. So that's the most unique thing. So let me tell you how I play this horn. I start always with the slide out like this. That way, if I need to push it in to go higher, I can do that. Okay, if I need to go a little bit farther out, I can do that. Now, let me tell you this. With power comes responsibility. And that's just as true with this slide as anything else. If you can tune every note, then you need to really be able to hear, or you're going to have a lot of trouble with your intonation. Right? Now, I don't think that's how it was meant. I think it was meant to be in all the time and then pull it out when you need it, right? I think that was more the original purpose. I don't know that for sure, but yes. So you can be a little bit more consistent on your pitch if the thing is always in. Okay, you can do that. But for me, I like to play it with it out so that I can adjust any pitch that I want in any direction. Otherwise, I just don't see a point in having that slide. Okay. Anthony says, thank you, Eddie, about sight reading. You're welcome, Anthony. Jess Ford says, do you write music? And that's a big fat yes, I write music. I write lots and lots and lots of music. If so, what would your advice be for a beginner? You mean a beginner writer, a beginner composer? I teach composition lessons, and always the very first thing I have to do in the lesson is tell the students that repetition, most people want to put different, like every measure is different, and that's terrible music. Repetition is the most important aspect of music. I think that's one of the reasons why my free improv, yeah, and you guys can check out my free improvisations, right? I have over 100 free improvisations on my channel. Only reason I stopped doing it is because I got kind of bored with it. When you do 100 of something, it gets kind of, blasé, I guess. But one of the reasons my free improvisations sound a little bit different from other people that I know that do that kind of thing is because I incorporate a lot of repetition. I'll give you an example right now. And this, I'm not planning this, it's just right off the top of my head. Okay, now it wasn't always exact repetition. There was some exact repetition, but you take those motifs and you bend it and you twist it and you move it this way, you move it that way. Okay, so that's the first advice I have for a beginning composer. Okay, the other advice I have is that there are no rules in composition. There are no rules. There's only one rule that matters in composition, and that is you have to like it. If you don't like it, it's not finished yet. I know that's a very philosophical thing to say, but it's the truth. So the first thing that we do with my students is we do that practical thing where when they're writing, they have to have some sort of repetition, and I make them copy and paste. I take that measure and put it over here. Okay? So the first thing is repetition. The second thing is that there are no rules. The only rule is that you have to like it. You don't have to know any music theory. You don't even have to know your scales. You don't even have to know all the notes in of the instrument, just to use the notes that you have, right? So yes, my My advice for a beginner composer is to write what you like, and don't be afraid to repeat stuff. Never be afraid to repeat stuff. So you asked if I write music. I have written literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of compositions. I have written literally thousands of arrangements. So yes, I am an experienced composer. I don't think a lot of people think of me as a composer. I think of myself as a composer. I am more a composer than I am a trumpet player. I can't turn the composer part of me off. I can turn the trumpet part off. But I see the music world through composition lenses, not through trumpet lenses. So for example, when I'm playing a gig, I can't help but sit on the gig and think about the composition that I'm playing. I can't turn that off. Anthony says, so playing with your play-along videos should also help my timing. Well, here's the thing. The difference between my play-along videos and other people's play-along videos, and this makes them a little bit more difficult than other people, is that the first trumpet part is not on the recording. So if you get off, it's just going to sound bad for a while. You have to go back and figure out what you did wrong. Now, I have links on those songs. You can go up in the corner, and there'll be links to those songs so that you can hear how it goes. And then come back and do that's why it's set up that way. If you're having trouble with the rhythms or the timing, then you go listen to the original recording. So I made the original recording first, and then I went back and I took the first trumpet part out. That's why I call this series You Play First Chair. I take the first part out, and then you play the first part. And so because the first part is not on the recording, it's not going to be as obvious when you get off. But yes, it will help you with your timing. Jeffrey says, thanks, you're welcome. Cardo says, hi, Eddie. How long does it take to get fully acclimatized to a new mouthpiece? Any tips to make the transition easier? By the way, you sound great on the Bach too. Well, thank you. See, to me, if you have to get acclimatized to a mouthpiece, that's probably not the right mouthpiece. I hate to say it. If you have to get acclimatized, then something is not right. So let me tell you guys a new development in my teaching studio. I've been wanting to buy one of these for 30 years. I finally got one. Ta-da! This is basically Warburton from 2 to 7. And then I have a bunch of their different backbores. So here's the one that I play lead on. So you take the bottom and you screw it into the top. Now, the reason why I've always wanted this, is because um, I want to be able to properly fit my students to a mouthpiece. And with this kit, I can do that and be absolutely certain that we are at least in the right ballpark. So yeah, this is the mouthpiece I play lead on. I don't mean specifically this one. Mine's in the case, but this is I play on a 2S. Oh no, 2SV. I'm using the wrong one. I play on a 2SV. Here's the SV. I play on a 2SV with a KT star back. And by the way, this also makes me I can sell the mouthpieces now. That's part of what this is about. So yes, now I didn't get it because I wanted to sell them. I got it because I wanted to have that ability to properly fit a mouthpiece on a student. And what we're looking for when we're looking for a mouthpiece is something that works now. There's no such thing as growing into a mouthpiece. Okay, the only thing that should take time getting a new mouthpiece and deciding is asking yourself if that's really what you want. Because every mouthpiece comes with pros and cons, right? Whatever you shave off on the left side is going to pop out on the right side. Whatever you cover up on the top is going to come out at the bottom. It's very difficult to find something that really truly works for you. Okay, so that said, there is never a time when the mouthpiece doesn't work, and then you're just going to spend time on it, and after a while, it's going to be okay. That's not how this works. So the getting acclimated to a mouthpiece is not something I'm a big fan of. If it doesn't work, then that mouthpiece is going to give you trouble down the road. Javier says that Warburton kit saves a lot of money too to the students. That's right, and the reason it saves money is because you don't have to buy 50 different mouthpieces to find what's going to work. So Javier says, I've bought and sold about 15 mouthpieces till I found the ring diameter that fits. So yes, if you have a teacher that has one of these kits, then you can streamline that process. And I have a system that I use to help find the right mouthpiece. I've always had this, but I've always just used whatever mouthpieces were in my drawer, which included some Warburtons, but also some Giardinellis and what's that other company, Stork. But with this, I can actually try increments. And in fact, I can't wait to use it on myself. It just came in the mail yesterday. So I can't wait to actually go through it and see if I can fine-tune my own mouthpiece choice. So we are a little bit over time. I can answer a few more questions before we wrap up. Cardo says, so you are supposed to know right away if a given mouthpiece is the right one. That's not what I'm saying. That's the part that can take time. What I'm not saying is that the mouthpiece will work later and not work now. Deciding if it's the right one is what's going to take time, because you might not know all the trade-offs yet when you first start playing on it. Sean says, this is awesome. Eddie, I know you have wanted that for years. That's right. Been a long, long time. So, and like I said, mostly as a teaching tool. David McLean says, where can I obtain total tonalization? So I answered that question at the beginning of the video. I just looked, and it's on the website that does all that stuff. For some reason right now it's unlisted. Now you could, let me, if you want to do it as an ebook, you could probably get it here. I'll put the link for you. If you want to get it as a link, as an ebook, you can get it here. I'm sure. Now, did you say, David, that you don't live in the United States? If I remember right, you live in, I want to say Ireland. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. So I think you should be able to get that book through that link, and it should redirect you to a, oh, you live in the US. I'm getting you mixed up with somebody else. It must be the name. I apologize. You know, if oh well, I won't say that. So yes, you should be able to get that then with that link, but it'll be an ebook. If you want the physical book, give it a couple weeks, and I will update. I have it up. I don't know why it is not live. It says unpublished draft. Projects in revision are saved as a draft. Oh, revision. I wonder if they put it in the revision. Anyway, that's why you're not finding it, because they took it down. So I need to go through and find out what's going on with it, and maybe I'll upload a new PDF or something. I don't know. So, you know, that's one of our most popular books. You know, one of the problems with having so many books is it's very difficult to keep track of this kind of stuff. You would think that you could just put the PDF up and it would stay up and people would use it. But that's not how technology works. You have to constantly go back to these things and update them and all this terrible stuff. So I will try to take a look at this. But give it, if you want a physical book, give it about 2 weeks. Because it takes time for it. Once I do get it changed, it takes time to get it out to all the websites. It takes roughly 2 weeks for it to get out to the other websites. So anyway, do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I will wrap it up and we will wait for the next Q and A. Okay. All right. Well, guys, thanks again, as always, for hanging out with me. It's always great to see you guys. And we'll see you on the next one. God bless you guys, and have a great weekend, okay? Take it easy. Bye.